out. I don't know if it was because they were late or just because things were getting weird. But you were there. I mean, it got a little heated there, right?
Yeah, there was some spirited people there for sure on both sides. And one guy was, I mean, he went off on his way out. But
I
yeah.
I miss that. I miss that. He's passionate. He's been around a long time. And what we're talking about, I guess, just so everyone's on the same page, is what'd you say? Coming to an MLS near you? Is that what you
Coming
said?
to an MLS near you, this is why you should pay attention and be involved.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the tee up. We got an email on. Do you want me to go into this right now? Would
Yeah,
that
yeah,
work?
this is
Okay.
great.
So we got an email. I was actually shopping with my wife at my favorite place to shop. The only place I like to shop actually is Costco. But I was rolling through Costco and just kind of like whatever, no big deal. And it was Friday, so I like to have my emails cleared out so I can just enjoy my weekend. And there's an email from Boise Regional Realtors, and I opened it, and it was a bylaw change. Now, a lot of you might not give a crap about changing a bylaw. Totally get it. I was on the board, I don't know, 12 or 13 years ago.
And you're a nerd, so you care about that stuff.
I am a little bit of a nerd, so I do care about that stuff. Thank you for throwing me under the bus there, but totally true. But I know you don't change bylaws unless you want to do something. And so I'm like, honestly, just curiosity. I'm like, what do they want to do? And the wording change was so minor. They're changing a word from shall to may.
Mm,
So shall meaning like you must, essentially, right?
yeah,
And may meaning like, meh, you can do whatever you want.
yeah.
So on the surface, it doesn't look that bad. And the email itself literally just said, "Hey, we're having a meeting. It's in person. It's just a minor tweak in the wording, which is totally true for the bylaw change. And it's in person. It's no proxy votes are allowed. It's at 8:30 in the morning, and you have to be in person only. And literally the intent behind it. This is what was so confusing to me because usually you just say, "Hey, we're doing this for this."
Right.
But that didn't exist. So I read it and then I read it and then I read it again. And then I was like, okay, am I reading this right? And then I threw it in ChatGPT and said, am I reading this right? And, and then I posted it inside of our KW, our local brokerage like group, private group saying, am I reading this right? And of course, unfortunately I was. And Brent, they were wanting to change the words so they could potentially sell our MLS.
So what I'm hearing is minor tweak to the words, major shift in the definition.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And the yes, yeah. So that all those things seemed odd. It's like, okay, why do in person only? Why not allow proxies? Why not allow virtual? Like we're on, virtual right now, right? I mean, everyone's used to this. You could definitely get more turnout. The only reason you wouldn't want to do that is if you wanted less people to show up. It'd be my guess,
Yeah.
right? So they started off on a very shady foot, and I think they were hoping people, nerds like me, wouldn't notice. But man, once I just said, "Hey, did other people see this? What do you think?" And dude, everyone was like, "What? I never even got the email." They probably did, but they didn't see
I
it.
did. It went to my marketing folder, so I didn't see it until I searched for it, but I wouldn't have seen it.
Got it.
I think that's the case with a lot of people. Here's the reality, and I thought this yesterday while we were there, and we were there to vote. And if you were there and you're for it or you're on the board, sorry, but as they were there gaslighting us on all the reasons why it's a good idea, I'm thinking, okay, let's hypothetically say all of this is true and all of it is a good idea. I'm still going to vote no. And the reason why I said that is because of the lead up. The lead up, it was very short. It was within the minimum. Obviously, they had an attorney guide them because it was like it matched exactly what you had to do to have like a minimum notice. And can you do it in person? All they met all of the rules, but they did it like that type of speed is traditional for a very minor change where they just, don't need to have a lot of oversight or say or involvement, not a large change to the definition of what could potentially happen. And so even if everything they were saying was true, I'm like, I don't have the information to know that it's true. I just have to take you off of your word. And so I think the moral of the story is, if any agents listening to this from around the nation, what is happening is there is a push somewhere in the undertone, and I don't know what it is, but to merge and or privatize MLSs. And there's stories about MLSs that were privatized, and the next day they no longer own the data, or their fees get jacked up tremendously. And the other piece of it is they're using or leveraging the lawsuits that have come, or the scrutiny that the DOJ is having, as, I think, the piece of information to get people to agree to allowing MLSs to be privatized, because it somehow mitigates risk. So let's, if you don't mind, like, Chase, do you want to talk through like the DOJ, the lawsuit, MLS is involved with the law, or the MLS's role in the lawsuit, and then like what risk is there actually being owned by an association?
Yeah. So I think it'd be good to just go nerd for 2 seconds, 60 seconds. Okay. So what is the MLS? Like, the way our structure is set up in Boise, and your structure around the nation could be this way too. This is pretty common. The association, the Realtor Association, is a nonprofit.
Mm.
Then you have, they happen to own 100% of the MLS, which is a for-profit. So it's a for-profit company. They can operate, et cetera, but they've got to go talk to daddy, right? But
Yep.
daddy's the nonprofit. So, when I was on the board, like I said, 13, 14 years ago, the MLS tried to buy themselves from us because they were a for-profit company with their hands cuffed, right? They're like, we want to do X and Y and Z, but we can't because we got to go ask you guys, and you guys don't allow us. And I was like, why don't we allow you? Well, because you guys don't want it. And I'm like, we own you and we don't want it. So duh, like, I get what they're doing. It made sense when the MLS was doing it. It doesn't make very much sense to me, Brent, that the association is trying to do it. So just so everyone understands, their reasons that they told us yesterday were, it's a litigious time around real estate. And they specifically mentioned MLSs, which, we're going to dive into. And then they also said they wanted to be nimble. Right now they can't do anything. So if they have to make a strategic decision, they can't do it. But their whole argument literally killed itself when one question was asked, which is, well, we met within 10 days and we voted. Is that not nimble? And their attorney, who I think is awful. I don't know if he'll ever see this or not, but I don't really care. Like, I just think, he did a huge disservice. So I want to give, I know some of the board members and some of the executive leadership, and I know them to be intelligent, and I know them to have good intentions. So there's probably some reason that we have not been privy to. That's the only thing I can think of. And maybe there's something good out there that was causing them to do this. But let's dive in. I apologize for the digression, but I think this is happening around the country, Brent, where there's like these reasons are coming to fruition, like, oh, hey, we'll do this and this and this, and it'll be great for you. And they're kind of swaying these boards and executive leaderships to, hey, you should sell it. Maybe we should sell it. We'll get a bunch of money in our coffers. That's the other thing, Brent. A side note that I think is driving this a little bit. Membership was much higher 2 years ago. And, when you're a nonprofit, sometimes you have very little oversight. So you just start to spend and spend and spend. And then when your money goes away, what do?
Figure out how to make more money.
That's exactly right. And when you can't get more members, you're like, maybe we should sell this asset and we'll be fine for a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Sure.
That's just a side note. I don't know if that's true, but that's a guess. So let's talk about private purchases of.
Well, here's what I want to talk about first is,
go ahead.
Like, the perception of an MLS. So there's people out there talking about MLSs and real estate agents like they're locking in the information and holding it ransom, and that's their only value. And so that's one side. But the opposite side of that argument for MLSs and real estate agents and associations to control it is there is a truth to the MLS. There is a truth to the information. There is regulation between and standards that have to be withheld in order for us to hold our licenses, in order for us to not get fined, all of those things.
Yeah, like we have
All
to
of
put a price in.
yeah,
We have to.
all of that information is at risk if it
Yeah,
goes private. When I say that all of that information is at risk, the truth behind that information, the value behind the truth of that information is at risk. Appraisers use it, lenders use it, economists use it. All of that information is extremely valuable, and it runs the risk of being degraded and being not factual, which can cause massive issues because this is a large asset. And there's other regulatory bodies that control the information of other types of assets. This just happens to be what regulates and controls this information.
Well,
And
and
if it privatizes, it's going to
if
be
you're a
degraded.
consumer and you're like, well, these realtors, like the realtors, the guy, the guy, I'm not going to give him credit for anything, but if you're a consumer and you're like, well, realtors, screw realtors, they're just trying to hold all the information. It's actually the exact opposite, just so you know. The MLS is the exact opposite of holding the information. Like agents like myself and Brent and our team, we're very good at what we do. If we didn't have to share the information, we would make a lot more money because all those people would have to come to us and we would help them buy and sell homes. The mutual cooperation with an MLS is what makes everything. If you're looking at Zillow and seeing homes, that's because we formed an MLS.
Yeah.
Zillow wouldn't exist without an MLS.
Right.
And if you're like, yeah, they would, it's like, okay, well, if the MLS went away, what would we do? Now we give it to Zillow. Now Zillow is the thing, right? So I just think if there is no MLS, what happens is I find someone who wants to sell their house and they want to hire me. And then I go do all of my marketing. I put a sign out front. Maybe I put it on whatever, a website, or I send an email out. Well, if you're not a part of that email or you don't bump into that website, you don't get info. Right? With the MLS, all the information goes to one location. Then it's actually distributed out to all these other services.
And just to double click or double down on this thought, it is standardized information.
Correct.
And so because it's standardized and then it's pushed out and syndicated and shared with everybody, the fact that the source is standardized is what makes it so incredibly important.
So let's triple click on that. If you want to do an exercise and figure out what it's like without an MLS, hypothetically, go try to find out what a commercial building sold for 5 months ago.
There you go.
It does not exist. And so you know your home's value, or roughly know your home's value as a consumer because of the MLS. Yeah. It's because now I just sold a home and I have to report what it sold for. And I have to be truthful and honest. And if I'm not, I can get fined or even lose access to it. So
let's talk through this, because I think this is an important fact, because you just brought up the commercial side. And why hasn't commercial created this like standardized, stringent information reporting? And I'll tell you exactly why. With consumers, they don't live it, breathe it, and there's not a common metric to determine value other than previous home sales and the data on those sales and the comps. With commercial, it's literally math based on what are current interest rates, what cap rate are investors expecting based on current interest rates, based on what they're making on their money. Like, that's really all it boils down to. So because there's a standardized math in purchasing commercial, there's no need for this like central hub to collect all of this data, because investors can go in and do the math and determine if is it going to look good on their portfolio or not.
Yeah.
That's it. And owner operators do the same thing. They'll say, will this fit into my budget? The space, will it work? The cost, will it work? And will I be able to make money as a sole proprietor or a company? Whereas consumers, there's no standardized way to ebb and flow that information besides the data that's reported into the MLS.
Yeah, and I know we've been nerding out on this a lot. So is it true? Because again, going back to why they brought this to us, is it true that they're at a huge risk as an association by owning an MLS? Um, so I guess, do you want to talk about Denver at all? Do you think that's
Well,
important?
let's talk about the risk because I think that's an easy one to kind of tackle.
Sure.
First of all, there was already a lawsuit, and the lawsuit addressed the antitrust compensation aspect of it, where basically we were putting commission into the MLS and saying, "Hey, buyer agent, the seller will pay you this if you bring a buyer." And so basically, once that lawsuit came, they said these three things matter. So removing buyer broker compensation fields, banning mandatory compensation offers, and then they also said you need to require buyer broker agreements prior to showing. So those three things, they said, if you do those three things, you are no longer at risk. Now, the other two things that are floating around are the clear cooperation and commingling, meaning there are rules in the MLS that say you have to put it in the MLS if you start marketing it. And there's people out there saying, well, you should be able to market your home anywhere you want. So there's that piece that's kind of up in the air.
Meaning, if someone comes to hire me, but I'm a member of the MLS and the
Right.
association, I'm required to put it in the MLS. And if they're like, I don't want to do that for some reason, and there are some very odd circumstances where that might actually make a lot
Yeah,
of sense.
there's some people that want private sales. They just do.
Yep.
They're just private people.
Yeah. Or I mean, there's also some certain types of buyers like to buy things that aren't on the MLS.
Correct.
Investors, for
Yes.
example,
Yep. Yep.
a lot of builders, developers, they don't want to buy land on the MLS, for example.
Correct. So there's that. And then the other thing is the commingling, meaning there's rules that tell portals like you can't commingle things that aren't in the MLS with things that are in the MLS. If we're going to give you the data, you can't commingle it. So the reality is those are not things that would shut down an MLS or prevent an MLS from operating. Those are just rules that, should there be any pressure on what it needs to look like, it's a rule that can change fairly easy.
Yep.
And so that's it. That's the risk is, number one, you need to meet those three things. If you're not, you're at risk. So all MLSs, to my knowledge, are meeting those risks, or meeting those new compliance measures that the lawsuit issued. And then the other two things are just up in the air, but not a massive risk for litigation. It's more of people wanting it to change, so they're gonna pursue the change through legal jurisdiction. So
Yeah, and I can't help but think there's probably some incentives, right? Like this Denver purchase that went private, the two associations, there was two real estate associations that owned the MLS, and basically they sold it to a private party, and presumably, allegedly, none of the realtors knew, but I mean, I'm sure some knew, but it's similar kind of thing. An email probably went through, oh, who gives a shit? And then it happens. But if you go dig into that information, there's a lot of accusation that people benefited financially. Like maybe they got to buy a piece of it later, or maybe they got paid up front for getting it pushed through, because that's a huge resource. I mean, if you're a real estate agent selling residential real estate, you essentially have to have the MLS. So if I was the investor and I bought the MLS and then I just raised the price 3 times, you're going to pay it
yeah.
unless you don't want to sell real estate anymore. So You think we beat that horse to death or what?
Yeah, I think it's beat. So moral of the story, if you're not involved or you're not paying attention to your local association and the things they're putting out or the votes that they're having and they own the MLS, pay attention.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, let's jump into something that's a little more fun. So I read an article. We'll go kind of quick here because I know we want to get to some other stuff, but mortgage rates hit a 10-month low. So let me just give you a couple highlights and then we'll jump into some talking points. So 30-year fixed mortgage rate dropped to 6.57, which is the lowest in 10 months. Just days earlier, it was 6.75. I know this summer it was up to 7.5.
Yeah.
So buyers with a $3,000 monthly budget now can spend roughly $20,000 more in just 2 months. So 2 months ago, they for $3,000 a month, they would have got a house $20,000 less. So if the homeowner's refinancing, if they happen to get that 7.5% rate and they refinance today, they're going to save roughly $200 a month just on principal and interest. So yeah, I guess, what does this mean for home buyers right now, Brent?
Well, obviously you just mentioned it, purchasing power. Here's the kicker. I personally think 6.5 is the sweet spot if you're a buyer. And here's what I mean by that. And agents, like, listen to this, take this information in and leverage this. This should be a talking point with everybody you get on the phone with. That's a buyer. But I think 6.5-ish is the sweet spot because inventory is currently in most areas higher than it's been since pre-pandemic. So we've got higher inventory, so more selection, which is putting pressure on prices, meaning you're either seeing prices drop potentially to pre-pandemic prices, but you're also seeing them plateau, so not going up exponentially. So you can buy at 6.5, meaning you can align the two and find something affordable you can get in the game, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. And the challenge is, if you're waiting for the lower rate, guess what? So is everybody else. And so whatever we're gaining in reclaiming some of the price, like getting a home at an affordable price, that will disintegrate the second interest rates drop below 6.5. So I think, if rates get to 6, then we're going to have a whole pent up amount of demand unleash onto the market. That's my opinion.
So let me sum up what you're saying. You're saying if rates continue to go down significantly, you think pricing pressure will actually potentially come up?
I think there's definitely going to be demand pressure.
Okay.
And, depending on how high that demand pressure is compared to the amount of inventory that's hit the market, I think will determine how much of a price increase we see. But I definitely would foresee a price increase if rates drop below 6.5 or get close to 6. Here's why. Because there's incentives out there. There's pre-purchased interest rates with builders, number one. So they're now, if rates go to 6, they're now able to offer potentially 4.5s on 30-year fixed because they've pre-purchased these incentives. Or with seller buy downs, if sellers have equity, they're able to offer that are getting people now into the 5s if rates are at 6. That becomes very affordable and very appealing to a lot of people that are on the sidelines waiting. And so it's not that rates are at 6 that makes it affordable. It's where the rate can go with the cooperation of the seller, in my opinion.
Here's my tip. This is like advanced tip for agents. And honestly, when I say it out loud, some agents will be like, well, duh, but I really don't think I don't think they're paying attention, unfortunately. If you're a listing agent, that means you're probably pretty successful, just to be honest. Like if you know how to list homes, you're having success. Not every market, but most markets are very rate sensitive. So we've been hammering like, hey, the inventory is going up. That means you need to get your pricing very aggressive. So you're not selling your home, lower the price, lower the price, lower the price. But you have to pay attention to these rate changes, because when we go from, we were in the sevens, geez, a month and a half ago, and now we're at 6.5 almost. You might not need to lower the price, right? You might need to follow up with those realtors who showed your home but said it was priced too high, right? Because does that buyer agent really pay attention to the rate? Like, here's the unfortunate reality: you as agents, might be doing a great job because you're watching this. Most agents are not. They don't know that rates are going down, and their clients definitely don't know. And lenders are either too busy or too freaking lazy to call their clients and say, "Hey, you've got more purchasing power." So call the buyer's agents and say, "Hey, did you know that the rate just went down massively in the last couple days? Like, your client actually can get the same payment or even better at the price that my seller needs. Let's make this deal happen." Like, you can make deals happen with this information. You got to be knowledgeable.
You got to be knowledgeable and you have to be proactive. I mean, that's the other
Correct.
piece that I'm hearing you say is you have to be creative, think out of the box, get on the phone, call people that were interested and have these conversations. And
Yeah.
if you're not doing that, then you're just at the mercy of the market, period.
Well, and unfortunately, we have to. If you're a listing agent, you have to educate not only the realtor but their buyer, right? You got to educate the realtor on how to educate their buyer. So,
You
yeah.
just have to assume nobody else is doing their job. And if you want the home sold, you have to do the job.
That reminds me of something one of my coaches said one time. Because I'm like, why should I do their job? They're gonna have to do it. And he's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich?
Mm, interesting.
So you can choose to be right. Like, well, yeah, it's not my job. Like, okay, well, cool. You're not gonna get your seller's home sold. So, and you're not gonna make any money.
So what I'm hearing you say is set your ego aside, stop making up excuses for other people's lack of work ethic, and just do the job so you can get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're in an industry where 80+% of the people are part time. So
Oof.
we have to do kind of the whole job. Otherwise, you're not doing the job your clients hired you for.
Yeah, and that this is going to kind of like take us. This is a little off topic, but you just said 80% of agents are part time, and like every agent listening to this, and I mean, somehow if it could get out there to the full agent population that actually are full time and do their job and work this industry, if all of us controlled the messaging around the importance of working with a full time professional real estate agent and that there actually is a difference, like we would make it a lot harder for those part time people to even be in the business.
Well, look at the nuance of this conversation. Do you think sellers understand that their listing agent needs to know that rates went down, and then they need to educate buyers agents that rates went down so that they can educate their buyers so they can buy their house? No, they don't. Agents don't even know this. So there's no way sellers do. So how can you communicate effectively, the value you bring to the table? It is it's nuanced, and as much as you feel like you're talking about it, you probably need to 10x that.
Well, pro tip, by the way, like Chase, you talk a lot about manufacturing follow ups or manufacturing reasons to communicate with your people. If I were a listing agent, I would actually call and educate my client on why lower interest rates going lower will benefit us and what I'm going to do about it. So they now know what Brent is doing to help sell their house. And then you go do those things and then you follow up and say, all right, here's what I got. I talked to this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. They're getting a hold of their buyers. They're going to get back to me. As soon as I know something, I'll let you know. Next day, hey, I haven't heard back from them. I'm going to follow up. Next day, hey, I got one of them. They're semi interested. They're going to get back to me, whatever. And you just basically create this cascade of follow-ups that shows that you're actually doing your job and the seller sees you taking the extra initiative.
So it's funny you use the word initiative, because one of the acronyms that we have at Real Estate Growth Network is RISE. So that stands for resilience, initiative, systems, and excellent. And why don't we just dig into the initiative thread for a few more minutes before we get to closing this out? Would that work?
What does initiative mean to you, Chase?
Well, I mean, taking action. So, you kind of have two choices in this world. You can react to things or you can make things happen, be proactive. And I think initiative is being proactive, right? So you just said it, manufacturing touches. I actually wrote myself a note to remind myself to talk about that next week on stage at Mega Camp, and that's a huge deal, right? You guys probably, if you're listening to this, you probably just missed a big piece of what he said, which is he does something, then he tells his clients he did something, and then he's like, I'll let you know what happens. And then whether something happens or not, he still tells his clients, like, oh, hey, by the way, I still haven't heard back from XYZ agent. And, I'm going to text them right now and I'll let you know. And then a few hours later, hey, just so you know, they text me back. Here's what they said. Or, hey, still haven't heard. I'm nudging them again. These are, I mean, Brent, you and I coach clients that pay us a lot of money to coach them. And the clients who can afford to pay us to coach them, they sell a lot of real estate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So something I've noticed is that they do this naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of agents who are like, I don't know where my next deal is going to come from, they're afraid to communicate. So
Yeah, there's this unspoken fear or undertone of being annoying or being over communicative.
yeah, which is total BS.
No, I know. And here's how you can figure out if it's BS. Just flip the roles and say, if I was the consumer and this was the type of communication that I received, I would feel peace of mind. I would feel that I was being taken care of. That's the actual feeling that you get. And when you are operating out of that feeling as a consumer, Chase, are you more likely or less likely to refer the people you know in your world that are also looking to transact?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's taking great care of me, I'm more likely to refer them.
And
It's
we
that simple.
know that when someone's in a real estate transaction, they're more likely to hear about other
Oh yeah.
people in real estate transactions. So the time to make people feel the very best and the most connected to you and the most served by you and the most communication is during the real estate transaction, because that's the highest likelihood that you're going to generate a piece of business.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the reticular activating system, right?
Yes,
So, like when
correct.
you buy a car, a red car, all you see is red cars everywhere, right? And even the brand you bought, and it's the same thing for buyers buying real estate. They go buy a home, and now everyone they know is buying a home, or they're having a baby, and everyone they know is having a baby, right? Like you're absolutely right. They're way more likely to know someone that they can refer while they're doing it. So, and by the way, just another fun little tip on that, there's highs and lows throughout the real estate transaction. When do you think you should ask for a referral, Brent?
Highs, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. You don't want to do it when they find out there's mold in the crawl, or hey, you got
Exactly.
mold in your crawl. By the way, do you know anyone?
You know anybody else with mold in their crawl space that's looking to buy or sell? Yeah. That kind of reminds me, like, I feel like listing agents avoid updating their clients because they're scared of handling rejection or fear or anxiety from the seller. So let me restate that. Listing agents avoid updating their sellers because they're scared of the response they'll get from a seller.
Yeah.
And so, like, we teach our agents and I teach my coaching clients, you need to update your seller every single week. It's much easier for you to call them, even if there's nothing going on, for you to tell them everything, than to wait until they call you.
Yeah.
The conversation is completely different. It's
It-
a manufactured high at the update, and it's technically a manufactured low if they're calling you.
I'll tell you, put it another way. When you call them, it's a 5-minute update. When they call you, it's a 20-minute defense
Ooh.
of you defending every single little thing you've done to try and sell their house.
All right, for
So,
anybody listening to this, like, I want you to hear this, what he just said. He said, if you call to update your client, it's a 5-minute update. If you wait for them to call you, it's a 20-minute defense. That's
Yeah. And
so what
so
kind of business do you want to have?
of course, of course. And anyone who's listed homes at any sort of level understands like the pressure of not selling a home can feel massive. So I think two things need to happen. Most of what is going to take care of that for you is you have no idea what it's going to sell for. So you go in advance, letting them know, like, hey, I'm not buying it. I'm not writing you a check. So I have no clue what it's actually going to sell for based on the market, not me, the market. It suggests we should be in this range. And then, of course, I sell homes. So the things I do to market homes work. So if we're not selling your home, then we'll have to adjust our pricing strategy to get it sold. And then you show them what the market's doing every single week. Hey, this week, this many homes went pending. Ours didn't, right? So there's 15 like ours, 6 went pending, 9 didn't. So, and there's probably 6 new listings. So, how do we get in the top 6 so we can actually sell this week?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have, and probably mistakes that they make, is they go into a listing presentation and they say, this is what I do to market a home. And they present themselves as a quote unquote marketer. And what they fail to do is they fail to articulate that marketing is actually 3 things. And it's the combination of data, pricing, and exposure. That is marketing. So if you're a professional marketer, you're actually taking those 3 things into the equation. So if you don't articulate that to your seller, the challenge is when it's not selling, they're going to say, you said you were good at marketing. It must be the marketing. You said it that you could market it and it's not selling. Therefore, the marketing is the problem. Whereas if you articulate it and say, hey, marketing is a combination of data, pricing, and exposure. Here's the exposure. We've had it. Here's the data. The data tells us based on the exposure, we need to do what?
Lower the price.
We need to adjust the price to match our target demographic. Our target demographic has rejected the price based on us showing it to them. And believe me, we've shown it to them. And so, the follow-up to that is, and then we can wrap up. The follow-up to that is if you have an agent step outside of the emotion of selling their house, and you have them realize like marketing, exposure is just exposure. Exposure is just putting your house out to as many people as possible. If it's misaligned with the target demographic via price, if it's misaligned, if I put it out to more people, we're just going to have more people tell us that it's misaligned with what they want.
Yeah, I have an analogy, Brent, that I love. Can I walk you through it real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, what's a gallon of milk cost?
I haven't bought milk in a while, but
Just
I
say
would
$5.
guess like $4.
Okay, we'll say 5, so it's simple,
Okay.
easy.
So Chase wants me to give the answer of 5. Got it.
That's right, $5. Say 5. Okay, so gallon milk's $5. So if I was selling milk for $10, would you buy it?
No.
Okay, what if I put one of those little the inflatable guys that go in front of a car dealer and they're like this? What if I put that right in front of the milk? Would you buy it for $10?
No.
But I just drew all this attention to it. So how about I take ads out in the newspaper and I even get on the radio station and like, hey, Brent, we've got $10 per gallon milk right here for you.
It's the best, coldest milk in the world.
Yeah, fresh. You ready to buy it?
No.
Okay, last one. My final marketing offer. You ever seen those like sky streamers? They fly them all around like
Yeah.
beaches and popular areas. And I've got $10 gallon of milk for sale. How about now?
No.
Okay, so you're still not buying it. So just like you said, it's just put another way. And I would actually, I walk my sellers through this. Like all we're doing is letting more people know that we're overpriced. And honestly, we're probably selling milk for other people.
100%.
Yeah, because people are like, dang, I want milk, but I'm not going to pay $10. I'm going to pay
Well,
5.
imagine this. So, because this is like, think if you're sitting in a neighborhood or someone wants a specific area. Imagine you're the store and you have the $10 milk, but right next to it, you also have another brand and it's a $5 milk. You're like, people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, milk's half off. I'm buying it.
Yeah.
People are gonna be like grabbing those $5 milks like they're going out of style because of the perception that the higher priced product has given them.
I've seen so many homes help sell other homes. I
Yeah.
mean, it just happens, right?
Awesome.
So,
All right. Final thought. We got a couple more minutes.
is there a question or just what's the final thoughts?
What's your final thought, dude?
Gosh. Well, I think I mean, sticking with the initiative theme, you know, if there's anything I could get anyone to take away from this, it's focus on what you're being proactive on. Look at your calendar. How much of that did you choose?
Mm,
Meaning, like, are you blocking out time to work on your business versus working in your business? I see a lot of agents, especially when they're new to coaching with us, they come in and we look at their calendar and sometimes they have nothing in it. Sometimes I'll make them do an exercise and go back a week and say, like, put what actually you actually did, do your best. And if they can't even think about that, then I'm like, okay, monitor it this week. But what you'll see is most of what's in there is just what happens. Like, oh, I checked my email, or
mm.
this person called me, or I've got this thing to respond to. But there's very little time of you deciding where you're going. And that's where I think initiative comes in. Like, it's something, do something that's super important but is not urgent. That's how you hit your goals.
Wow. So just to sum up that thought, in closing, what I hear you saying is you you can control the outcome of your life, or life can control the outcome for you. And one looks like chaos, which is letting your day happen to you, being extremely reactive, probably in uh, uh, urgent and important, right? Everything's urgent and everything's important because
Yeah,
it's just
that's
coming at you.
that's when you ask someone, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Busy."
Yeah. Or you can operate in what you call the important and non-urgent, which means you've proactively planned out how your day is going to go. The the last thing I'll have anybody think about in regards to this, because there's probably people out there thinking this, but I like my freedom. Let me tell you right now, if you're proactive and you put quote unquote restrictions on yourself, meaning this is the things I'm actually going to do. So when I say restrictions, I mean like you're restricting what you can do in that time. You can only do this thing. You can only do this thing. You can only do this thing. There's more freedom in that than there ever will be letting everything come at you and happen to you. So what feels like non-freedom, blocking out your calendar and sticking to it, is ironically the most freeing thing you can possibly do.
Well said.
All right. Well, that concludes the pod, dude. Great conversation. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys.
See ya.